Today we celebrate the birth of the Church, Pentecost. So happy birthday, everyone. We'll start with the Gospel of John, chapter 20. Here it is the evening of the resurrection, and the doors were locked in the house. They were in fear of the Jews. What did they fear? That the same that happened to Jesus would happen to them. As people like you and I, what else might they be talking about? They had already heard of the resurrection through Mary and Peter and John. Where is Jesus? What is he going to say to us? We did not support him. We ran and we denied him. Jesus appears among them. He did not need to use the door. He says, "Peace be with you." His love fills the room. He shows them his hands and his feet so that they would believe it was him. Then Jesus says, "As the Father sent me, so I send you." And he breathed on them, and they received the Holy Spirit. Here is the Trinity in action. Jesus then goes on to say to forgive sins and to be merciful. They were full of joy and love. Their fear was gone. Now, in Acts, they were asked by Jesus to stay in Jerusalem until the Holy Spirit came to them. Here they are in a room praying not just for an hour, praying for days with expectant faith. There was also a Jewish feast at this time, so there were many people gathered in Jerusalem. Then suddenly from heaven there came a sound like the rush of a violent wind, and it filled the entire room, and tongues of fire rested on them. What is happening now? A personal Pentecost. They received the power of the Holy Spirit. They were equipped to go out to the world to preach to all nations. At this point, they could not contain themselves. They went out preaching, and everyone who heard them understood in their own language. This is what the Holy Spirit can do. What happened was twofold. Because not only did the Holy Spirit prepare the disciples, he prepared the people who they spoke to. Some listened and were amazed and astonished and wanted to hear more, while others just said they must be drunk. They experienced the supernatural grace from God. Now, what is grace? It is unmerited favor. Can we all receive this? Yes, we can. What can we learn from this? We can learn not to limit God and the grace he can give you. Our experience may not be as great as the apostles, but that's okay. Just be willing to receive what God has in store for you. In the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it says, grace is the participation in the life of God. It introduces us to the intimacy of the Trinitarian life. By baptism, the Christian participates in the grace of Christ, the head of the body. As an adopted son and daughter, he can henceforth call God the Father in union with the only Son. He receives the life of the Spirit who breathes charity into him and who forms the church. Now this brings us to the second reading, 1 Corinthians. It says we have many gifts, but the same Spirit. Are we to keep these gifts to ourselves? No. We are to share and to give away these gifts. They are not for us to keep. We are one body. We are equal, but with different functions in the body. We are not more favored than another. Everyone's journey is different. Primarily, we are sent to love. Come, Holy Spirit, hope and grace.